Good day everyone, I am C-zar Flores from 2 BPED. For today's video, I am going to conduct a different kinds of Philippine traditional games. Let's watch this. So the first Philippine traditional game that I am going to conduct later on is the Luxon Lubin. Luxon Lubin came from the ancient civilization of Egypt. The early 1900 jump rope or Luxon Lubin had become popular since both boys and girls were playing it. In this generation, they tried to put it in more fun by adding some music or manual way of counting when playing it. And here are the objectives. This game is similar to the Western skip rope or jump rope, played mostly by girls. The objective is for an individual or teams to score highest in skipping or jumping over the rope while it is being turned continuously over the head and under the feet. The next is the mechanics. A player must avoid hitting the piled hands with any part of his body or clothing. The two mothers are expected to be high jumpers. The first to jump is decided by the mothers by choosing a sleeper. The mother whose team wins, the twos will have the first jump. The next is the facilities and equipment. So wala naman talagang specific area, no? Or facilities na gagawin sa laro na Luxon Lubin. Pero pwede siya sa wide area or field at gagamit tayo ng rope or tali. And the last is rules and regulation of the game. Two people will hold the end of the rope, while the rest of the people will fall in a single line. One person must go first, then all of the people must follow what the first person did. The second Filipino traditional game is Luksong Baka. Luksong Baka is a traditional Filipino game that originated from Bulacan. And here are the mechanics of the game. It involves a minimum of 3 players and a maximum of 10 players, and involves them jumping over the person called the Baka. The main goal of the players is to successfully jump over the Baka without touching or falling over the Baka. The next is the mechanics. All players are jump over the Baka until all the players have jumped. Once the first set of jumping over the Baka is done, the Baka player's position will slowly rise up after jumping over the Baka player. Only the hands of the jumper may touch the back of the person who is bent over. The next is the facilities and equipment. No equipment is required in playing Luksong Baka except for these 3 skills: mobility or the player's ability to move easily and freely. The more agile the player is, the higher he can push himself. Stability. It's the player's ability to keep his body parts steady, especially on his waist. The last is the rules and regulations of the game. The players should avoid or falling over the backup player while jumping over. The backup player should start with a kneeling down position. A backup player bends over with their hands placed on his knees. All players are jump over the baka until all the players have jumped. Sige. Number 2. Out. Number 2 na. Luxo. 4 na, ganyan. Out! The third Philippine traditional game is Luxon Tinik. The Luxon Tinik is a popular game in the Philippines. It is originated in Cabanatuan, Nueva Ecija, played by 2 teams with equal numbers of players. Each team designates a leader, the nanay, while the rest of the players are called anak. The players chosen to be nanay are usually the ones who can jump the highest. The objectives of the game. The objective of the game is for all players in a team to jump over the height of the piled hands of the opposing team. Next is the mechanics. 2 players serve as the base of the tinik or thorn by putting their right or left feet and hands together. Soles touching, gradually building the tinik. A starting point is set by all the players, giving enough runway for the players to achieve a higher jump, so as not to hit the tinik. Players of the other team start jumping over the tinik, followed by the other team members. If a player hit either hands or feet of the base player's tinik, he or she will be punished by giving him or her consequences. Next is the facilities and equipment. There is no required equipment for this game because you only need your hands and your feet. At sa facilities naman ay pwedeng sa field or sa wide area. Last is the rules and regulations of the game. A player must avoid hitting the piled hands with any part of his body or clothing. The 2 mothers are expected to be high jumpers. The first to jump is decided by the mothers by tossing a sleeper. The mother whose team wins, the toss will have the first jump. Maglukso ha, lukso ba? Out. Philippine traditional game is tumbang preso. Tumbang preso, also known as Tumbalata or Batulata, is a traditional Filipino children's game. The game involves throwing a sleeper at a can or bottle, which one player, the taya, attempts to guard. The game is usually played in backyards, parks, or in streets when there is little traffic in an area. Here are the objectives of the game. Is for the players to hit and knock down the can with the sleeper, and for the taya to put back the can inside a small circle a few meters away from the tow line. When a player is tagged while recovering their sleepers, they become the taya. Here are the mechanics of the game. Are somewhat similar to those of Duck on a Rock, a medieval children game commonly played across the globe. The other players will then get at the back of the tow line, and the game starts at a signal from it. Immediately the milk can is knocked down and the pamato is retrieved. Next is the facilities and equipment. The equipment needed is an empty soda can or any kind of can or bottle, and a sleeper for each player. To make the game enjoyable and exciting, there should be no more than 9 players. Last is the rules and regulations of the game. Players must have sleepers to hit the can precisely. The IT must never go to the player zone unless he or she will tag a player without sleepers. Players must never go to the IT zone unless he or she throw the sleepers. Players must throw the sleepers or else he or she will be the IT in the next round. The fifth Philippine traditional game is Tagotaguan. Tagotaguan is the Filipino version of America's hide and seek. There will be a player who will be the taya. He will be the one to search for the other players of the game. The game will end if all the players will be caught or if one of the players can touch the taya. Here are the objectives. It involves a minimum of 5 persons or 2 as many. Here are the mechanics of the game. Number 1. Decide among your group who is the first. Number 2. Each person gets to decide a base, and from there, he or she closes his or her eyes while counting to 60. By that time, other players must find a place to hide. After the countdown, each person will find the other players if he or she located a player. He or she will shout the name of the person seen. Then that person will be the next. Hiding players can save themselves by touching the base while the person is looking. Once they save themselves, they cannot be called. Here are the facilities and equipment. A huge tree, lots of open spaces, and nooks and crannies. Here are the rules and regulations of the game. Often counting 1 to 10 while the other players hide. The seeker then opens his eyes and tries to find the hiders. The first one found is the next seeker, and the last is the winner of the round.